The ancient metallic of church bells, modern electric sirens and barking dogs. Echoing out over Odessa's silent, curfewed streets, the air raid warning. So the war has now come to Ukraine's third city. Shelling in the suburbs this week, it was minor and sporadic for now. We visited one shelled area and could find no evidence today of any possible military target in the vicinity. And the mayor of Odessa has no illusions after the obliteration of Mariupol along the southern coast.
The message from the Russian Federation is that anything's possible these days. We can see the intensity of their repressions rising, that they break every promise about not killing civilians, because now they target every civilian facility and get more inhuman and pitiless.
After months of winter, the temptation of warm spring sunshine, yet almost no one ventures down to the seafront. Yevgeny, Nikita and friends, and the art of self-defense. So are they worried about what may lie in store for Odessa from the Russian fleet just over the horizon?
Yes, of course, we're worried about it, but we hope and we believe that they couldn't come to Odessa, because we wait for them.
You are ready?
Yes.
You are defended?
Yes.
Training, discipline, so much at stake here. Ukraine's biggest port, though we're not allowed to film it. The staggering wide Baroque boulevards that once spoke of Russian imperial power, now of defiant independence. The Opera House, sandbagged in 1941 and now all over again as Vladimir Putin attempts to turn Europe's clocks back 70 years. The art galleries, emptied. The statues, sandbagged. Should this become rubble, Ukraine becomes landlocked, colossal economic damage, and an architectural loss on a world scale, incalculable. Odessa's famous Potemkin steps were, of course, built to welcome people from all over the world to this port, up to the grand streets of the city above. It's not happening now. The Russian fleet lies over the horizon and is occasionally shelling this city. Razor wire blocks the steps. There's nobody here. Cars and shoppers have long given way to sandbags and tank traps across Odessa's empty central streets. And it's here that one of Ukraine's major CEOs now devotes his life to keeping the city defenders in food and clothing.
I'm Jewish, but I'm Ukrainian, and this is for my family. This is a second genocide in our life, because the first genocide for my family was they want to kill us because we are Jewish. Now they want to kill us because we are Ukrainian, and the bomb can fall here in 1 hour.
For the mayor, it's not just about the threat to Odessa nor even Ukraine, but to world order.
It's clear that the threat isn't just to Ukraine, because the war here's already started. The more success the Russian military have in Ukraine, the more blood they'll drink, literally. They'll get addicted and want to change the entire world order.
So once more the ancient catacombs beneath Odessa are air raid shelters again. This time with electricity and
Wi-Fi, use Wi-Fi.
Even Wi-Fi connections. Hundreds can be safe here in the old limestone mines. Murals from bygone wars and refuge.
This is KGB.
Part of the complex, an old KGB bunker away from the perceived Cold War NATO threat. A different world order. So you can understand, I think, from that little trip around the city today, why this is so important, obviously to Ukraine, but also, of course, to Vladimir Putin and any strategy he may have, whatever that may be, frankly now, to subdue somehow Ukraine. And there is only one town. It's called Mykolaiv. It's about 2 hours' drive to the east
east of here, and that is the front line. That is the last remaining town, which frankly still stands between Moscow and here in Odessa. So the strategic importance of that will only increase, far from diminish, in the coming days. And it is indeed to Mykolaiv that we are going tomorrow, and we shall report from there. Back to you.
Alex Thompson in Odessa. Well, our international editor, Lindsay Hilson, has been reporting from across Ukraine since the war began, and she's with me now. I mean, you have seen remarkable changes in this country in this war very, very quickly. What are your overall feelings?
Terrible changes, Christian. I was here in January. At the end of January, I went to the Kharkiv dog show. Think about that. The Crufts of Ukraine. How normal is that? And yet a couple of days ago, there we were in the Children's Hospital in Zaporizhia, in a ward with sandbags by the window, looking at children who'd been shot as they were fleeing Mariupol, children who may not live. At least one of them was in a terrible state. And you think that that has happened in these few short weeks. It was a functioning country, a normal country. You just drove around. Now, every few miles there's a checkpoint. Again, sandbags, tank traps, men in uniforms. Now, I have to say that on the whole, those checkpoints are very polite. They're very, they let you through quite quickly and so on. But in some parts of the country, the checkpoints are manned by Russians and by Chechens. And for the people fleeing Mariupol, that is just a terror. So you think about it, this normal functioning European country has gone to this warscape in 4 short weeks.
And the scale of human suffering is extraordinary as well.
In particular places, in Kharkiv, that has been shelled from day one, and the centre is an absolute ruin. And of course, Mariupol, I think, worse than anywhere else. Now, Mariupol, there's really nothing left of it. Some of the people we spoke to said, our city no longer exists. And what's happening now is that the Russians are controlling the center of it. There is still some Ukrainian fighting on the outskirts. And the Russians are taking people, some say forcibly, to Russia, because they know that this place is uninhabitable. They have destroyed it. Why are they doing that? They're doing it for territorial reasons. They want to link Crimea, which they annexed in 2014, with the east, which they took control of at the same area. Mariupol was in the middle. So they want this territorial integrity, which would give the Russians a stronger bargaining position if it ever came to negotiations.
And briefly, has NATO changed anything today?
I think that the solidarity will be important to the Ukrainian government and the promise of ammunition and weapons. But you have to think, if this conflict freezes, how difficult is that for the Ukrainians? Because they have a limited number of people at arms, let alone ammunition. They have done much better than anyone was expected in stopping the Russian advance in places that are actually pushing them back. But how long can they keep that going for? The NATO help will be very welcome, but what President Zelensky is asking for is far, far more. He's still asking for them to have a no-fly zone, and he wants much more NATO involvement. I don't think that's going to happen.
Lindsay Hilson.